But I dare say that a lot of people go to Crater Lake and don't even realize that they're looking at the inside of a volcano.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Or people at least think that it's an extinct volcano.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's still, everything's alive and active.
This is the Exploring the National Parks podcast with Dirt in My Shoes. My name is Ash, and I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. I think that the parks are best seen from the trail, and I'm here to make national park trip planning easy.
And I'm John. I carry the kids on the trails, I tell stories, and notice all the things that Ash doesn't care about much, like birds.
Join us as we show you around America's spectacular national parks.
We're sharing our favorite places, fun facts, adventures, and misadventures.
And we'll even throw in a little trip planning.
Let's start exploring.
We're thick in the national park trip planning season. And man, am I feeling it. Oh my gosh, summer is almost here.
It has picked up a lot. That is for sure.
Well, and we've gone to some new to us places. Well, I went to Cumberland Island National Seashore by myself. And then we went to Congaree National Park, which is a new to us national park. And coming up, we've got, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but we've got Yellowstone. We've got
Yosemite,
Acadia. Sequoia Kings, Great Basin, Acadia. Where
so
else
many
are
great
we going?
things.
Grand Teton, Rocky Mountain.
So many fun adventures coming up for us.
I know. But
and hopefully for you too.
I know. And if you have not started your summer planning, get on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy because I update our itineraries. So if you have one of our itineraries from Dirt in My Shoes, I do weekly updates during the main season for those itineraries. Which, as far as I know, I think we're the only ones that do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a ton of work. I don't know why I do that.
I do.
Yeah.
I know why you do it. It's because there's things that change in the national parks all the time, and people are needing some adjustments here and there. And if you just have one static document that people have,
it goes out of date pretty fast. Not all of it, but certain parts of it. And so, as I said, we're in the middle of the trip planning season. Like, I am on those national park websites constantly. I am watching what they're doing. I'm like putting little tweaks into my itinerary updates so that you know what you need to do just based on what's happening in the parks right now, closures, construction, weather, all the stuff.
Right.
So go get an itinerary if you need help with any of that this summer, but do it sooner than later, because the sooner you get in there, the sooner you know what's going on, the easier it will be to plan the right way, to get the reservations you need, all the stuff.
There are certain national parks that, you know, they may have gone away from first come, first serve reservations for campgrounds, but there are a bunch of national parks that release their reservations 2 weeks in advance. So you still have an opportunity. You may feel like you're coming a little late to the game. There are options for you.
Well, and the entrance reservations, if you miss the initial cutoff for those, when they release them further in advance, all of those parks do those again, usually like the night before. And with the itinerary, I actually walk you through like step by step on screen. I am getting one of these reservations so that you can watch me do it, so that you know how to do it. Just get in there. Just know, like, we are in the thick of things. Don't wait for the summer to hit.
Yes.
Because there is a lot going on in the parks right now that you're going to want to be aware of.
Right.
And I will keep you updated with an itinerary. So check that out. I got to say, I'm exhausted. I'm really excited for summer to come. That's like when all the fruits of my labors start to pay off. And it's like, oh, now we get to go have fun instead of me just like digging through my computer, paying attention to all the stuff.
Right,
so
exactly.
I'm really excited. We've got a really fun summer ahead. But today we are talking about a park that has seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Honestly. And this is a park that we haven't been to for the past couple of years, kind of on purpose, because they're doing a whole bunch of construction. It's hard to time. The seasonality of it is really tricky.
Right.
We got really lucky, but we learned that our first trip here because it was like, oh, nothing opens yet. Like, we were barely there when they started opening stuff, and it was just like, I didn't know that.
It was really interesting. Our first experience at Crater Lake National Park, which is
Oregon.
In Oregon. Man, this place is so cool. But that first time that we went, it was before the reservation period for the campground. And we were getting there, and the way they assign sites to you at the front desk, they don't assign you like a specific site. They assign you like a size.
Well, but this was before. They don't do it this way anymore.
Okay. Things have changed, but that was a very stressful period.
Because we're like, well, we have a big travel trailer, so we need a blue site or whatever. And then they're just like, give you a map, and it like marked all the blues. And you just drive around till you find one that works and stuff. And then we've gone back since. Mm-hmm. And it was right after COVID. And so they had changed their system, which a lot of national parks did, where now everything's reservation only and you have to do it in advance. And we got there, and that was a little bit better. Still, they've been doing a ton of construction, and I just found another closure, actually, that I'm like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this park right now. We'll get there. But we're going to keep this as general as possible so that regardless of when you go, this information will be helpful for you. Mm-hmm. Because we honestly were just like so excited to talk about Crater Lake and how cool it is and all the amazing things you can do here.
Yeah.
So let's jump in, John, because we've got some ground to cover here. Taking a look at the map of Crater Lake, so you've got a few different entrances. Mm-hmm. We're going to start with the south entrance because that's the entrance we pretty much always come in through. Mm-hmm. We're usually coming from Redwood National Park to the south, and so we usually just we'll like go over to Redwood, Lassen and Redwood, and then we'll pop up to Crater Lake, and then we'll head up to the Washington parks.
It was pretty funny when we have like a couple of notes for how we prepare for some of these episodes. And one of them is like, what is our favorite gateway town to the park? And I thought to myself, Crescent City is my favorite gateway town to Crater Lake.
Crescent City is all the way over by Redwood. I know. Well, there really isn't much in this area. And I think that's pretty surprising because it's Oregon. And Oregon is pretty populated.
Yeah, exactly. But this place, it
really isn't.
It is so far from even like anything I would consider a town. Medford is probably the closest one.
There's Medford. There's Klamath Falls is a little bit further. I think that would be the quote gateway town.
Yeah, you got Bend further up to the northeast, but it's far.
It's in the middle of basically nothing.
And it surprises you when you actually end up there. You're like, I don't see what I'm supposed to be seeing yet. And then you just stumble upon the great views.
And what you're supposed to be seeing is the deepest lake in the United States.
Right. Oh my gosh.
That's what makes this park so cool. You are looking down into the caldera of a volcano, the inside of a volcano, and it's full of water. And it makes for just the way it's set up and the way everything is, which we'll talk about more in the fun facts episode for this park.
In the fun facts, we're going to talk about how this is so cool. Not just because it's the deepest lake, but because it's the deepest lake set inside a volcano.
And the really blue color is an effect of where this lake sits and how it's sitting in the volcano and how the water even gets into the lake. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, really interesting. But that's what we're here to see. Yeah. We're here to see this amazing, spectacular, dazzling, beautiful blue lake. Mm-hmm. But when you come in through the south entrance, you don't see anything.
No.
And you drive for a while, and then you get to the Mazama Village, which is where the campground is. It's where they have like a little gift shop. They have
a restaurant.
Some cabins.
Yep.
So they have a few things. We learned the hard way that they do not have diesel. They only have unleaded gasoline.
That was more than just an inconvenience. That was kind of scary, actually.
And so pay attention to that because like we said, this park really isn't by anything else. Mm-hmm. And so you need to bring everything in with you that you're going to need as much as possible.
Right.
Because you have to drive quite far to get out of the park and to get to somewhere with amenities.
Yeah, this is not like a Yellowstone or a Zion where like right outside the gate, you got everything you need.
Yeah.
This is surprisingly isolated.
So when we almost ran out of gas and we went down to Mazama Village and they're like, we only have unleaded. We're like, crap. We have our truck. We're in a diesel truck. And so we had to drive out to Prospect, which is about 45 minutes outside of the park. And it's just like, it's nothing. It's just like a little service station and a little restaurant.
Right.
There's not much there. But then as you're driving back into Crater Lake, there's a cute little restaurant called Becky's and they have ice cream. And anyway, so it turned out fine. We made it. We got the gas. We were okay. But I just want to emphasize that it is very far removed from a lot of things.
Which in some ways is very charming.
It is. It's fantastic. But just be prepared because Mazama Village has some things, but it doesn't have everything. It's pretty small and you're deep into the park at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And I will say, I have to prep Ash for this.
Okay.
When we get to like the rim drives, you're going to need to pause before you do anything because I have something planned. This should be kind of fun.
Yay. I always love your surprise plans.
Awesome.
Okay. So that's Mazama Village. That's where you'll find the campground and there's some little cabins and stuff. You keep driving and then you'll get to kind of the main park visitor center, the Steel Visitor Center. And then from there, that's when you start heading up to the rim of the volcano where you can see the lake and that's what you're here for.
That grand reveal is so cool.
But first, before you get up there, you see my favorite tree.
Yes, the hemlock trees.
Yes, I love the hemlock trees in Crater Lake. They are so charming.
Oh, and if you don't know how you identify a hemlock tree, it's all about the droopy tops.
Yeah, so they're these like really cute as you're going up because the rim is at about 7,000 feet of elevation. So you're gaining quite a bit of elevation as you're going up. And as you get higher and higher, you'll start to notice there's just like these little, just cute, fragile looking trees. They can get kind of tall.
They get really tall.
Well, but at this elevation, they're not very big. So they're just like these cute little Christmas tree looking trees. And then the whole top just kind of droops over like a wizard's cap.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It makes me so happy.
It's like the one tree that Ash can identify.
I know. I'm like, oh, does it have a droopy top? Hemlock. Got it.
That's so cool. And on the NPS site, they kind of brag about how wild their forests are here and how they're super cool, really dense forests with lots of different kinds of trees. But yeah, those ones are so easily identifiable.
They're so cool. They're whimsical.
And I prefer to use the word charming most of the time when I'm thinking of the word cute. Because I feel like it helps me maintain.
No, they're whimsical. They're magical. It does. It feels like it's just a wizard's cap that's drooping over.
Nice.
They're so cool. So look for those as you drive from the visitor center up to the rim. That's my favorite thing to notice when I'm driving up that way.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But there's a lot of switchbacks to get to the rim.
Yeah.
Up until this point, you've kind of been gaining elevation almost without noticing. It seems like, because you're just from whichever direction you're going or coming from. When you make your way up to the rim, you're really kind of going a subtle elevation gain for a long time until you hit this park headquarters, and then you really start to do a bunch of switchbacks.
Yep.
That's when you notice, ooh, something's happening.
Okay, so you hit the rim drive, which I'm sure, like you said, John, you have something for here. But when you hit this rim drive, it's 33 miles. It goes around the caldera. And we like to drive it clockwise because most of the viewpoints and the pull-offs are on the right side of the road if you drive it clockwise.
Right.
So you're not having to make left turns. And anyway.
Just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get to Rim Village first, and we can talk about that, but then you'll want to drive around clockwise if you want to do it our way.
Let's talk about Rim Village first.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of get into my
There's so much anticipation here. This better be good.
We'll see. But Rim Village, my favorite part is the Crater Lake Lodge. I just feel like it's so picturesque.
It really is. And it's just perched on the edge of the cliff with Crater Lake right below it.
Yeah.
And all I can think about now, though, when I see this lodge, we did a whole episode about national park lodges and architecture, which was really interesting. But we talked about the Crater Lake Lodge, and this is episode 19, if you want to go look back on it.
Right.
But
super fun.
This lodge, basically, it just has been falling apart forever.
It was in shambles. Oh, my gosh.
So it's hard when you go up there and you see it and you're like, it's so pretty. But then if you know the story behind it, you're like, oh, boy, I'm not sure if I want to stay there. But I do want to stay there.
Yes.
And they fixed it mostly.
Yeah, it's so much better than it used to be. And so this lodge, it really does. It just like sits on the edge of this crater rim, and it's got the beautiful parkitecture, and it's the perfect sentinel in a way for the park.
And this is the place where you go. So there's a couple of restaurants up here. There's a gift shop. There's not really a visitor center, but like a little area where there are park rangers.
Right.
They have a little building, but it's very small.
Right.
This is where you'll find flush toilets, if that's important to you, because there's not many of those in this park.
Those are very important to me.
Yeah, it's just this little village. There's like the rim trail right here that goes right along the edge of the caldera that you can walk along. And so this is kind of your base camp for exploring the rim area of Crater Lake National Park.
This is where my favorite gift shop in the park is. It's the Rim Village Cafe and Gift Shop. It's got a lot of good stuff in there.
Does it?
Yes, it does.
We both have Crater Lake sweatshirts.
We
have Crater Lake playing cards. We have, what else do we have?
I forgot about those. Yeah, we used to play those all the time.
I know. So we love Crater Lake.
Our first time we were there, we're just like collecting all of these. How many household items can we get with Crater Lake on it?
We also ate at the restaurant in the lodge once, and it was good. I don't remember it being...
It's park food.
I know. I was going to say.
It's really pretty park food.
It's so pretty because you have the views of the lake, and so it's fun. Just check. Sometimes they make you have reservations, especially for dinner.
And inside, they've got some really pretty fireplaces, and I think they have a tree as kind of like a pillar inside the building.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Those old parkitecture lodges are just so beautiful.
It's incredible.
So that's Rim Village. Spend some time here. Like I said, that's going to be your base camp while you're up here. And then it's time to drive the Rim Drive.
Yes.
To go see what there is to see along here.
Okay, so now for today's activity. And I was thinking we would do something a little bit different while we drive around the rim of Crater Lake. So yesterday, I was watching a movie that made me look at Crater Lake a little differently than I was intending to. I feel like I've admitted to watching too many rom-coms by myself on the podcast. But in order to keep my man card, I'll say that the movie I was watching, it wasn't a rom-com, it was a comedy with some rom. And so...
I feel like you've actually really never said that you watched them by yourself.
Oh, that's
so good. I think you just admitted.
I may have overstepped. But anyways, it got me thinking about kind of the structure of a rom-com. And a lot of the romantic comedies have a moment in the film. And it's usually the part of the film that Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast told us about. Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly.
Okay.
You know, Mrs. Potts, she sang us that.
Yeah, she did.
Okay, but in a lot of these movies, in order to give the moment a bit of a dramatic flourish, the guy or the girl will often take the other person somewhere charming and beautiful with a really unexpected grand reveal. And it often starts off with the line like, "Come with me. I want to show you something." Happens all the time.
Okay.
Okay. And it could be a rooftop or like a view over a city or a great spot overlooking the ocean, something like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? There are a bunch of national parks that have some pretty cool grand reveal moments. The problem is you can't get there within like 15 to 20 minutes. And in Crater Lake's instance, if you drive somebody this far out into the woods, the genre of the movie changes, generally speaking. So I thought to myself that the romantic element of the national parks is way underutilized. Like the grand reveals are reserved for people wearing sunscreen and moisture-wicking shirts.
Yeah,
where
we deserve it.
Exactly. But I feel like there should be more hair gel and, sundresses at some of these viewpoints.
Do you?
I do.
Do you? Because we've seen a lot of that too.
Yeah, but not like, somebody with a camera and someone posing. I want to see people making out, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like having those kind of moments.
Okay.
Because the moment where you're pulling your car up to the very top of where you've got Rim Village, and then all of a sudden your view goes from back behind you, you're just seeing giant forests everywhere, to as you crawl up over the top, it's like, oh my gosh, the most unexpected giant crater with the most blue lake you've ever seen in your life. And it's just all of a sudden right there.
And the pictures, seriously do not do it justice at all.
Yes.
The blueness of it, even when we're looking at our own pictures and we're like, it looks really blue, but when you're standing there looking at it, it's unfathomably blue.
Right. Oh yeah, and the scale.
Yeah.
You can never get in a picture.
And you're standing on top of a volcano. So,
right.
I mean,
the passion of a volcano, right? Oh my gosh.
And the deepest water.
Oh, yeah. I just love it because especially if you're there at sunset or something like that, it's just like, holy cow, there's nothing greater than the grand reveal at Crater Lake.
It's true.
If you planned it right and you set up the expectation that you took the person an hour and a half from wherever and that it wasn't going to be a 5-minute thing. So anyways, what I'm saying is at one point, Crater Lake was named Lake Majesty. Okay. And the water is kind of a deep blue that can only be found in Ash's eyes.
Oh.
And and the cliffs and the trees and the view of the lake, it's like Ash. It can't be improved upon.
Oh my gosh, please stop. I'm so embarrassed.
Gosh. So anyways, I thought that today we would drive around the lake on the East Rim Drive and on the West Rim Drive, and we would infuse our experience with a bit of the romantic element that I feel like national parks like Crater Lake are majorly lacking.
Okay.
So, I've got quotes.
Okay.
From some of the best moments in movie and book history that should help us turn the Rim Drive into Lover's Lane a little bit.
Great.
And I could tell Ash was red-faced.
Oh my gosh,
I may have slightly embarrassed him.
Gosh.
I'll say the quote, and Ash can, at these different viewpoints, I'll say a quote and you try to guess what it is.
All right.
And I think that'll be kind of fun.
Okay. We'll see. I'm pretty terrible at quotes, so.
Should be fun, though.
But apparently I can't be improved upon.
You can't. Look at you.
Even my lack of quote knowledge is not a scar.
Nope.
Okay.
No blemishes.
All right. Sweet. Well, okay. So we're leaving Rim Village, and we're heading on the West Rim Drive first.
Mm-hmm.
And nice setup. But one thing that I did forget to say is that this is the area of the park that is super seasonal.
Right.
And so what we learned the hard way is you can come in June, but even sometimes the West Rim Drive isn't open.
Right.
Even sometimes you have to stop at Rim Village, even as summer begins. Or a little bit earlier. I would never go earlier than June, I don't think, because you can, it's a gamble even going in June, whether or not you're going to be able to go around.
They get hundreds of inches of snow every year. And
I saw their last measurement for, I think it was 2023, they didn't have 2024 on there yet, was 52 feet of snow.
Oh my gosh.
That year.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And so kind of what happens is as you come in, so you can usually get to Mazama Village and the Rim Village, in June. And then at some point during June, the West Rim Drive will open. And then usually it's not until July and sometimes even mid-July when the East Rim Drive opens.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind because this is the part of the park where you actually see Crater Lake.
Right.
And the drive that takes you around it. I mean, that's why you're there, right?
Yeah.
Or at least most people. And so even June is too early.
Which is crazy because we've talked about a lot of really seasonal parks. And this one kind of takes the cake.
It really does. I mean, I was not thinking that it would be nearly as seasonal as it is the first time we went.
Right.
And then we got there and we're like, Oh, the road just opened yesterday, and they barely started boat tours. Like, the boat tours started today,
Right.
and it was like, oh my gosh, like, we did not plan this well.
Yeah, exactly.
So as we start this rim drive, we're going on the West Rim Drive. And like I said, that's the part that will usually open sometime in June. It opens a little bit earlier than the other part. So just take note. This is just a big thing.
There will be big piles of snow.
Yeah.
Even if you get there right after they open or even a little later.
Yeah.
And some of the trails will still have snow.
Okay, so we're going around and we're driving clockwise. And so basically what you'll find is just like little pullouts along the way. You have the rim trail, but the main thing that you're trying to get to is the Watchman Peak Trail or the Watchman Overlook. That's kind of the first major one that you're going to hit on the West Rim Drive.
And I love this one.
Yeah.
And the main reason I love it is because this is the closest viewpoint to Wizard Island.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. You're right over the top of it. And
Wizard Island, we should say, so down in Crater Lake, you have a few landmarks that you'll notice as you're driving around. And Wizard Island is the biggest. It's really cool. Yeah.
And it's so cool, but honestly, you can't have a cooler name for that.
Yeah.
Which is why this first quote that
it's from Harry Potter?
Nope, not from Harry Potter. Not a rom-com. So, true love is the soul's recognition of its counterpoint in another.
Oh, yeah, no idea.
You're not going to know this.
Okay.
Wedding Crashers.
Oh.
Which may or may not have been the movie that I was watching yesterday. They say that we only use 10% of our brains, Ash. I think we only use 10% of our hearts.
Nice. What does that have to do with Wizard Island?
Because I found my counterpoint in Wizard Island. I just thought it was so cool. It was right. It's like when you get out of your car and you walk to the edge, you're like, whoa, it's right there. You're the real counterpoint to my soul.
Thank you.
Yes.
But when you're at the Watchman Overlooks, so yeah, you'll stand there and you'll look down at Wizard Island, which is just right below you. And then there's also a really nice trail that leaves from here that takes you up to the watchtower that just gives you a higher vantage point of this area. And there are several peaks in Crater Lake that you can hike to the top of. And the Watchman is the easier one. That's my favorite.
I love that one too, because you're right over Wizard Island.
Yeah, it's not as hard. It's not as much. I'm not a huge fan of going to the top of things. And so the Watchman Peak is great for me, but the other two are Garfield Peak and Mount Scott.
Yeah.
So those are good options too that I'm sure we'll mention a little bit later. But this is a really good one, especially if you've got younger kids or you just don't want to hike super far or you don't like heights.
I had a question that I was going to ask you, which was, which one would you prefer? If you were going to do one of those hikes, would it be Garfield Peak or would it be the Watchman Lookout Tower?
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of going to the top of things. And the thing about Crater Lake is like you're already looking down into the lake so much. And so your vertigo and stuff, I don't know, like it kind of engages pretty early on. And so for me, it's like, nope, this one's good. Like I can do this one, but I don't know if I want to get any higher. That's just me personally, though.
Yeah, I can see that because
You're not like that.
I'm not like that,
Yeah.
and I would choose the Watchman Lookout over some of the other ones because of your proximity to Wizard Island.
John is obsessed with Wizard Island.
I love it. Okay, I will say this up front. I think whoever named any of the things here at Crater Lake must have been into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Or was a Brandon Sanderson fan or like some type of fantasy reader because, I mean, you've got Wizard Island, but on the top of Wizard Island, that's where you've got like, even inside of it, you've got, I think it's called the Witch's Cauldron at the top of Wizard Island.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Phantom Ship at the other side. And it's just like, there's so many things that just make my imagination want to create a story.
Yeah.
And so this place is
The names are awesome.
Yeah.
They nailed it on the names.
They did a good job.
Okay, so continuing around the West Rim Drive. So remember, you're driving right on the edge of the caldera. And so your views are awesome this whole time. But there's not like a whole bunch of main stops.
Right.
You can just kind of stop when you see a pullout. But continuing around, then that's when you're going to hit the East Rim Drive after you pass the North Entrance Road.
Mm-hmm.
And the East Rim Drive is the part of the drive that stays closed longer. It's harder for them to plow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so a lot of times, again, you're not going to be able to go past like the North Entrance Road if you go too early. You'll want to go a little bit later in the summer so that you can get onto the East Rim Drive. And the first thing that you're going to run into on the East Rim Drive going this way is the Cleetwood Cove Trail,
which is my favorite trail in the whole park.
It's the only trail that takes you down to the lake. It's a slog. You're going down.
You're dropping 700 feet of elevation so fast.
Lots of switchbacks.
But before you get to the hike, you get to the viewpoint.
Yeah.
Which brings me to love.
Okay.
So, this is going to be fun. I'm actually excited about this one the most. If, however, your feelings have changed, I will have to tell you, you have bewitched me. Body and soul. I love you. Now compare that to, because this is the same, which one's better? You have to choose which one's better.
Well, I already know which one's better.
In vain I have struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you.
Yeah. You gotta go with the classic, man.
And the
Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, there you go.
Pride and Prejudice, but the second one is the book quote.
Yes.
So
or from the BBC version.
Yeah. The first one, when he said that the first time I saw it, I was just like, oh, no. I know a lot of people like it, but
I laughed.
No,
I think I laughed.
I was like, no, we can't take away the eloquence that is that sentence as written.
However, maybe it's because he got tongue-tied that it is such a romantic line.
No.
Because such an eloquent man, he's lost for words.
Well, that's not how she wrote it, so no thanks.
All right, Jane Austen, I agree with you. Okay, but back to the hike. This is the only trail that you can access the water.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's a big deal. So if you sign up for a boat tour, or if you just want to hike down to the water and touch it, then you'll park at Cleetwood Cove and you'll take the hike down.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part that's closed right now. So
Which is such a bummer.
It's been closed kind of off and on. They've been doing a huge amount of work on the East Rim Drive, just the roads in general and the parking areas and stuff. And so that's why, the last time we went to the park was in 2021. And I think something was closed then too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's been years. This is like a 5-year project on the East Rim Drive. But then I just saw today that they are closing Cleetwood Cove and the boat tours and everything for all of 2025 and all of 2026.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. So they're doing a lot of work there. This stuff still applies, but I would wait to go to Crater Lake if you don't already have plans
right.
to go, because Cleetwood Cove is such a cool part of the national park. It's such a cool hike. It takes you down to the water. You get to touch it. You can swim in it if you want to. There's a cliff you can jump off.
It's awesome.
Into the water if you want to do that. And then this is where you catch the boat tours. And so they have a ranger on the boat with you and they take you around the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these boat tours even drop off at Wizard Island and you can spend a few hours there. You can hike around. You can just swim in the water, all of that, depending on which boat tour you get.
It's such an important part of the park. But if you don't really think you're able to hike down the 700 feet, then it would be okay.
Yeah, then you can go.
Yeah. And
maybe
if you just weren't interested in hiking down that far either, then yeah, still a great time to go. Anytime, go to Crater Lake.
It is a hard hike.
It is a hard hike.
But it is really cool to be right next to the lake.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they're closing down the boat tour. I guess it makes sense. But when we were there last time too, they were struggling to get the boats up and running. So maybe that's a big part of it too. They're not just renovating the trail and the parking areas.
They said they're doing the lakeshore area too. They're renovating that, which, it was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Before there wasn't a lot of space.
You're just kind of sitting on rocks.
Yeah. And so I think it's a good thing that they're doing it. But as I said, it's been off and on. Those boat tours, some years haven't started till mid-July because they've had a hard time with the boats or they've had issues with the boats.
When we talk about the boats, these aren't just like regular boats. These are old boats that are kind of like a historical part of the park that they just kind of like do their best to keep running.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's been years and years of this. But yeah, I did see like they're actually like totally closing it down 2025 and 2026. And I was like,
that's a bummer.
Darn.
I hope they put a diving board. That would be cool.
No, just a really nice jumping rock. Nobody wants to see a diving board next to Crater Lake.
Diving platform.
Well, just a rock. There's already rocks there that
that's
you can
probably
do that
true.
off of.
But I'm just saying, to encourage people, jump in the water.
Sure.
That would
Keep
be
it
sweet.
natural, though.
Okay. Deal.
So that's Cleetwood Cove. So that's a common question that people ask, like, how do I get down to the lake? And there's nowhere to do that but Cleetwood Cove.
Which is kind of a surprising problem. You wouldn't think there should be multiple access points to the lake, but because it's so steep.
Yeah, when you get there, you'll see the steepness of the cliffs, and it's like, oh, it makes sense that there's not more places that you can get down there. So
exactly.
Okay, so then continuing around clockwise on the East Rim Drive, this is where you'll hit a lot of overlooks. Really good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I do really like, do you have quotes for all of these?
We're actually cruising because we're passing by a lot of stuff on the West Rim Drive. So we're going to get to a point where we just kind of hit a bunch of these quotes at the same time. So please, pull off the side of the road anytime, Ash.
Okay, let's stop at Cloud Cap. I really like that one. It's a high elevation overlook, just with really cool views of the lake. Do you have a quote for that one, John?
Yeah, let's do it. Since it's so high.
Yeah.
This one fits perfectly.
Okay.
With love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out, and what love can do that dares love attempt, therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me. Any ideas?
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, you nailed it. Act 2, Scene 2. Great job.
Nailed it.
Yes, it's the perfect one.
Nice. Yeah, so that's a really nice overlook. And then this is also the area where the Mount Scott Trail starts, which Mount Scott is the tallest peak in Crater Lake National Park.
Yep.
So if you want to get higher, this is where you'll do it.
Which fits in with the highest point in the park, fits in really well with this next line.
Okay.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Oh.
Anchorman, Ron Burgundy.
Guess what? I've never seen that.
You've never seen it.
But I have heard that quote.
Well, I just figured I would, let's take
Is that a rom-com?
It's a comedy with rom in it.
Okay.
Like a lot of the movies that I love so much. I thought we'd take a second to share a pickup line or two, because that's a big part of romance.
Okay.
It's how it usually starts.
Okay.
It's dangerous for you to be in here in the frozen food section. And then you say, why is that?
Oh, why is that?
Because you could melt all this stuff.
Or you're looking at me like Napoleon Dynamite or something. His face is like...
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. I have a Napoleon Dynamite quote on here.
Nice.
Yes. I see you're drinking 1%. Is that because you think you're fat? Because you're not. You could be drinking whole if you wanted to. I have all your equipment in my locker. You should probably come get it, because I can't fit my nunchucks in there anymore. One of the greatest pickup lines ever.
We live like 45 minutes away from Preston, Idaho, which is where Napoleon Dynamite is. Anyway, it's a big part of our culture out here.
It sure is. And Ash, you could be drinking whole milk if you want to.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep driving. No more pickup lines, John.
Okay.
Okay, so we continue around to the next main overlook that you're going to hit is the Pumice Castle.
Which is another really cool name for something. There's a castle on the side of this cliff.
And it is. It's like, so the pumice is a volcanic rock. And it's cool because when you're in Crater Lake, a lot of times that you will see volcanic elements if you're looking for them. But I dare say that a lot of people go to Crater Lake and don't even realize that they're looking at the inside of a volcano.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. or people at least think that it's an extinct volcano.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's still, everything's alive and active.
So the Pumice Castle, it's made out of this volcanic rock, and it's got spires and stuff, and it's just perched on the edge of the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really cool stop. I really like that one.
Yeah, that's a great one. And it goes along really well with this quote, which is one of my favorite ever. I would rather spend one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone.
Star Wars.
Oh, come on. That's Arwen talking to Aragorn.
Oh,
Lord
sorry.
of the Rings.
I knew it was a nerdy one.
It was a girl this time.
Yeah.
Saying the love things.
Okay, and then continuing around, this is my favorite part of the park, actually. I really like Wizard Island, but anything where you can see the Phantom Ship really well is my favorite.
Ooh.
I love the Phantom Ship.
It's so
because
great.
it really does, like, it looks like a pirate ship or something just down in the water.
Yeah.
And the Phantom Ship is a perfect name because it just, like, I don't know, makes you think of magic. And,
it does.
And whimsy. And it's just so cool.
Well, speaking of that, The Goonies was filmed mostly in Astoria, Oregon.
Okay.
And as the only national park in Oregon, I feel like they're connected somehow. And so the Phantom, I have a theory.
Astoria is not even close to this park.
But it's all in Oregon.
Okay.
And so my thought is like the Phantom Ship is really One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship, the Inferno, from the Goonies.
But it's really cool.
It is super cool.
I love the Phantom Ship. So you've got the Phantom Ship overlook right here where you can see it. But then if you drive a little bit further and stop at the Sun Notch Trail, and the Sun Notch Trail is pretty short, but you do kind of go up the hill there. So it's some elevation gain. But that also has, I think the Sun Notch Trail probably has my favorite view of the Phantom Ship.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you prefer the Phantom Ship overlook or the Sun Notch?
No, I think
overlook?
I like the Sun Notch for seeing the Phantom Ship, but both are great.
Well, my reason for liking the Sun Notch overlook better is because you get a broad side of the Phantom Ship.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of like a vertical.
Yeah.
And so you get to see it in all of its One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship glory.
Yeah.
But since the Phantom Ship is your favorite.
It is.
I have a line from one of your favorite movies.
Okay.
Which sort of is a pickup line, I guess.
Okay.
But we'll see. I like blondes. Chubby ones.
Chubby ones. No, you don't. You like brunettes.
Tomorrow night, 8:00, I got ice capades. If you haven't guessed this movie yet, it's one of Ash's all-time favorites. Ash.
While You Were Sleeping.
Yes.
Such a good one. I like blondes, chubby ones. Oh my gosh. So good.
These potatoes are so creamy.
Mary mashed them. Okay, so
Cesar Romero's tall. I could go all day.
It's such a good movie. The Phantom Ship, okay, so I kind of jumped ahead to the Sun Notch Trail, but in between the Phantom Ship overlook and the Sun Notch Trail is another road that you can take. It's a spur road that you can take down to the Pinnacles overlook.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is cool if you want more volcanic stuff, because the Pinnacles area is more volcanic than a lot of the other areas of the park. As far as what it looks like.
This whole spot is basically ancient volcanic ash that have been eroded slowly away into a canyon, leaving volcanic hoodoo spires. Yeah. And it's really cool.
Yeah. So that's a really cool stop. That's all the way at the end of the road. And there's a little trail you can do there if you want to. And then the other thing along this road that we really like is the Plaqueney Falls Trail, which is beautiful. And it takes you to a lovely waterfall in the park. The water actually doesn't come from Crater Lake.
Correct.
Which is crazy.
And very surprising.
Yeah. So, but it's a really nice one. It's a good family-friendly trail. And it's a beautiful waterfall. So if you're looking for a nice hike, that's a really good one to do.
And waterfalls are surprisingly difficult to come by in this park.
Yeah.
And so it's really big.
Well, because all the water is just like in this giant basin, you know?
There's a lot of water, but none of it's moving.
Yeah, it's not falling anywhere. So
exactly.
So that's that side road right there. We do like to go down there and see those two spots.
It's a pretty easy hike. It's generally really flat.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You'll climb a little bit to get up to the waterfall, but that's it. So
really pretty hike through a really big old growth forest is what it feels like.
Yeah. So after you take that spur road, then that's when we're hitting the East Rim Drive again, and then you'll go over to the Sun Notch Trail, which again is just that short trail that takes you to the really cool view of the Phantom Ship.
I was just going to say, this part of the park is where the road really kind of dips in and out of the crater rim. And so you'll touch the rim for a minute and then you'll go back out and you'll come back to it. The road is really windy in this section.
That's why it takes so long to drive.
Yes, exactly.
It is a lot of weaving and bobbing to and from the crater edge. So
would you say that this road is kind of kisses up against the rim and then goes back out?
Sure. I thought you were going to say something about weaving and bobbing. Surely you have something from Rocky in your list of quotes.
Nope, nothing from Rocky. But if the weaving and bobbing, if we're talking about kissing, from Hitch, you go 90, right?
Right.
You got to go 90, you got to wait for her to come 10.
Right.
But you need kissing badly. That's what's wrong with you. You should be kissed, and often, and by someone who knows how.
Nope.
You got to go way back for this one.
Yeah.
This is Gone with the Wind.
Oh.
A classic. Oh. Clark Gable tells that to Scarlett O'Hara.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen that.
I say that to Ash every morning.
Right. Oh my gosh, nice.
Yep.
Well, then continuing on, then you get to Vidae Falls, which is just a roadside waterfall. Basically, you don't have to hike to that one. And then you get to what's my favorite trail in the park, actually.
Your favorite?
I went back and forth on some of these trails, but my favorite trail is at the very end of the East Rim Drive before you get back to, the park admin area, the visitor center and stuff.
The Castle Crest Trail?
The Castle Crest Trail.
Oh, that's a really good one.
I love that trail because it is just full of wildflowers. It's really short, but actually what they did back it was 1929, they grew a whole bunch of wildflowers along this trail on purpose, like all the different kinds of wildflowers that you can find in the park. They just got the seeds and put them all right here as a way to help the national park rangers to be able to identify all the different flowers. So they had them all growing in the one spot so the park rangers could just walk the one spot and learn the different flowers that were in the park.
That's perfect. That's a great way to learn.
Yeah, but that was like 100 years ago. So now when you walk through it, you just see a whole bunch of different flowers that are just growing naturally now at this point.
They've taken over and you get to see. Oh my
gosh, it's so pretty because you're just following this little stream and there's just all sorts of different wildflowers everywhere.
It is really fun because you're basically hiking around like a water feature.
Yeah.
It's not a developed garden, but it feels like it is.
Yeah, so kind of. Really I know. Cool. It's just so pretty. And I am a sucker for wildflowers. So that's why when I was trying to think of like the different flora and fauna in this park and things that I really like about this park beyond the lake, it was like, they have my hemlock trees, my favorite trees. And I just love, like, nothing makes me happier than seeing wildflowers while I'm out hiking. So they have the Castle Crest Trail, which is just like the whole purpose. It has 200 different kinds of wildflowers.
Oh my gosh. 200?
So, yeah.
I didn't realize it was that many.
200.
Holy cow.
I know. So that's actually, and it's so short. It's so easy. Everybody can do it. But it's just, it brings me joy.
That's awesome.
I just love hiking that trail.
You're just like Julia Roberts. You're just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. You knew that one. Good job. I love that. Nailed it.
Yep, nailed it.
All right, well, I'll do one last quote since we're at the end of the road here. If you live to be 100, I want to live to be 100 minus 1 day, so I never have to live without you.
Cute.
Winnie the Pooh.
Aw.
Cute,
nice.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that one.
Oh, what a wonderful love story you've conjured up as we've driven around the Rim Drive.
I hope that now we're infusing just a little bit more of the romance into what should be the great reveal moments of all of these rom-com movies in the future.
So,
who knows?
Well, Crater Lake has the greatest reveal. It really is astounding.
It does.
And as you're driving up there, you're just thinking, oh, so where's this lake that I've been hearing about?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the top and it will absolutely take your breath away. It is just one of those really magical places, from the names of the things to just the way that it elevates your soul, to the science of it and all the cool things that have gone into making it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much to be grateful for when you're standing there admiring the views and soaking it all in.
Well, I thought that was a pretty cool journey around the lake.
Yeah.
I loved that. And I love you.
Gosh, stop it.
This is fun for
sappy.
me. So much fun. Well, there's really not much more to do in this park.
Yeah, it's a relatively small park.
And pretty easy to kind of figure out what you want to do.
Just make sure that you plan your trip for a good time. Like I said, mid-July is about the earliest I would go if you want to do the boat tours and drive the whole drive.
Mm-hmm.
And also be aware that there's almost always wildfires in this area during the summer.
Yeah, that's
It has
true.
been so bad the past few years. And so just be prepared for that. Again, if you can kind of hit it like those last couple weeks in July, hopefully that's before the wildfires really start getting going for the summer wildfire season. So,
like you mentioned, it can get really bad here. And so we've been here at times when just air is so hard to breathe.
it is. So just timing is tricky, but it's absolutely worth it. And it's also a nice one. We actually have a road trip episode about the Pacific Northwest. It takes you from the parks in Northern California up through Crater Lake and then up into Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to make a whole trip of it, because like we said, it's kind of in the middle of nothing. There's not really anything close.
Right.
And so we like to road trip this one so that we can attach a couple parks before or after as well. And it just makes for a really magical family vacation.
It's so true. I love this. But for our task today, I'm thinking we have very different favorite hikes.
Yes.
For this national park. You love the wildflowers. I love getting down to the water. And maybe some people might even like climbing even higher to the top of something.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like 3 different main options for the hikes. We want to hear what you would look forward to most.
Yeah. What are you most excited for? You want to go on the Castle Crest Trail and see 200 different types of wildflowers in one spot?
Pretty magical.
You want to switch back down the cliffs to the lake shore and actually be able to touch the water and go on a boat tour?
Wow, even more magical.
No. On the Cleetwood Cove Trail, that's what that one's called. Or do you want to hike to the top of a peak, which neither of us chose as our favorites, but pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of people do like to do that.
Pretty cool.
So we should put it as an option.
Yeah. But let us know on Dirt in My Shoes Facebook or Instagram page. We'll have a post there that you can chime in and let us know what you're the most excited to do when you go to Crater Lake National Park.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you wouldn't mind, please go and give the Exploring the National Parks podcast a 5-star review. We sure love hearing from you, and it really does help the podcast. And I'd like to encourage everybody to go get some dirt in your shoes.